NTA International News.
Federal government releases 42 billion naira to clear pension backlog. Senate directs Minister of Finance to release the balance of 15 billion naira in the 2016 appropriation to fund amnesty program. Food and Agriculture Organization to launch $20 million support program for wet season farming in Nigeria. Nigeria and Estonia to explore partnership on digital cross-border security management. Great to have you join us on the news on NTA International. I am Ifeanyi Okafor. And top on our news, as implementation efforts on President Muhammadu Buhari's new vision for oil producing communities in the Niger Delta region progresses, states in the region are beginning to indicate interest in working with the federal government and the private sector to develop the modular refinery concept as a panacea to illegal refineries in the region. This is one of the highlights of the interministerial meeting on the Niger Delta presided over earlier Thursday by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Under the plan that is being developed, communities will come together working with their respective state governments. The federal government and the private sector operators are to work out a template for the establishment of modular refineries in the communities. Already at another meeting today at the presidency, a delegation of representatives from the Baramatu Kingdom also met with the vice president along with a group of U.S. investors. The vice president commended the Baramatu community for taking the initiative to support government's actualization of a plan for the region, stating that it should be one of the models of what government will be doing in the future. Earlier, the leader of the delegation and Bolowe of Baramatu Kingdom, Chief Wellington Okrika, said the community was committed to the actualization of the 20,000 barrels per day Baramatu Modular Refinery project, which he noted would bring about lasting peace and stability in the region. Chief Okrika thanked the Buhari administration for the vice president's visit to the kingdom, which according to him has brought peace to the community. The Senate has directed the Minister of Finance to release the balance sum of 15 billion naira in the 2016 Appropriation Act for the funding of the amnesty program. The directive followed a motion moved by Senator Peter Nwaboshi on the monumental challenges facing the presidential amnesty program due to paucity of funds. In addition, the Senate also mandated its Committee on Niger Delta to investigate the circumstances leading to funding constraints besetting the amnesty program with a view to avoiding recurrence.
Concerned that this is already threatening the well-conceived amnesty program of the federal government, as the Amnesty Office is finding it extremely difficult to meet its obligation to its workers and beneficiaries of the amnesty program.
The Minister of Finance should look into this matter and ensure release of funds as quick as possible before the end of the budget year.
Raising a point of order, Senator Dino Melaye expressed concern over the introduction of speed limit device for motorists by the Federal Road Safety Corps. The matter was referred to the Committee on the Federal Capital Territory to look into it and report back within 2 weeks. Details of this will come in our subsequent bulletin. Now, the presidency has released 42 billion naira to clear part of the backlog of pension from 2014 to 2016. The Ministers of Budget and National Planning and Finance stated this while addressing members of the House of Representatives. The minister announced that the president has directed the immediate setting of a committee that will take a holistic look at the challenges of Nigerian pensioners. Ignatius Umkwon now reports.
The two ministers reiterated the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari to find a lasting solution to the challenges of Nigerian pensioners. The ministers noted that the issue of salaries and pension remains a priority on the president's list.
So he has directed that a committee headed by the Minister of Finance should meet with all the relevant agencies, reconcile all the numbers.
They explained that apart from being an inherited problem, The need to reconcile the pension figures from PENCOM and that of Budget Office is another challenge.
Yesterday we released the sum of 42 billion to clear all the arrears. Everything that has been appropriated up to date has now been paid. I also would like to tell you that PATAD are completely up to date.
Executive at all time must look at those laws that are backing up their operations and see those areas that need amendment.
And because when the president speaks, he speaks from his heart, not from his head. And since he has directed the ministers that they must solve this problem, I believe this problem will be solved. This House will not accept any excuse.
And to a word of national honors, where members passed for second reading a bill seeking to subject the nominees to Senate screening, sponsored by the Chairman House Committee on Rules and Business, Emmanuel Oke-Jeff, and 2 others.
For stipulating the requirements, the conditions to be met before such award could be made.
This award is given to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's not supposed to be the case.
The House has mandated its Committee on Healthcare Services to invite the Minister of Health to brief it on efforts to curb the scourge of meningitis in Nigeria, as moved by Representative Johnson Oguma from Edo State. Members passed 3 bills for 3rd reading. These include a bill for an act to provide for personal data protection to regulate the processing of information relating to individuals. The report of the House Committee on Land Transport and others on a bill for an act to establish the National Transport Commission was adopted. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Special Advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, Thursday in Abuja said ongoing efforts to diversify the economy will yield positive results, unlike previous years of promises and experimentation. Receiving a delegation led by the Grand Patron of National Association of Nigerian Students, Eze Iberi, Adesina noted that President Buhari's commitment is more than a mantra, and the reality will soon become evident to all. The special advisor told the delegation that the vision to diversify the economy had taken more than 40 years with many missed opportunities, adding that President Buhari will go beyond the rhetorics to cut down dependence on a single commodity. Adesina said the president had been concerned about the volatility of oil prices in the international market and many years of shock to the Nigerian economy, resulting in slow development. He said the president has already launched an economic recovery plan with a strong emphasis on diversification through agriculture and mines exploration, adding that the president's purposeful drive, single-mindedness, and simplicity in approaching issues will put an end to more than 40 years of trying to break the jinx of a mono economy. The Grand Patron of National Association of Nigerian Students, Eze Iberi, said Nigerian students commend the president's courage in fighting corruption and winning the war against insurgency in the Northeast, noting that Nigerian students had been praying for the well-being of the president and would continue to do so. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senator Itainang, has confirmed that there is neither tension nor anything unusual in the relationship between the executive and the legislature in the discharge of their responsibilities for public good. This was at a news briefing in the State House. Details will come later. Now, after surmounting the twin problems of insecurity and non-funding for several years, states in the Northeast region are being reconnected for socio-economic development. Works and Housing correspondent Mohammed Hamza Sheikh has details.
For close to a decade, the challenge of insecurity in the Northeast region has forced most economic and social activities to a halt. In those several years of insecurity, road infrastructure projects in the region were not only stalled, but some of them were even destroyed by the insurgents. A number of these roads are still in bad shape, especially the Kaltungo-Numan, Numan-Jalingo, and Ola-Mubi-Bama interstate roads. However, with the peace being enjoyed in the region and the remobilization of contractors to side by the Buhari administration, several other projects are progressing steadily. The dualization of the Kano-Maiduguri road, for instance, has reached advanced stage of completion. This is a trans-Saharan route of great economic and social importance, not only to the northeast region, but the entire North and Eastern Africa, connecting Kano, Jigawa, Bauchi, Yobe, and Borno states. The Gombe-Kaltingo Highway has also reached appreciable level of completion, and likewise the Ningi-Yadagungume-Fuskarmata Road linking Bauchi to Plateau State.
It's a work in progress. This tour continues to inform me personally, and I believe all members of our team, about really the scope of works that need to be done. We can reconnect the whole of Nigeria by road, and people can really see how beautiful this country is.
Many states in the region have also intervened in the rehabilitation of some federal roads with the belief that they will be refunded by the federal government.
Now as we are seeing this place is not developing, but with this road, you are now seeing filling station. We have here, these people are buying plots, and maybe 1 or 2 years, this one will be occupied.
With this, the peace being enjoyed in the northeast and steady funding of the projects by the federal government, states in the region will soon be reconnected for enhanced socio-economic development. Muhammad Hamza Sheikh, NTA News.
Earthfield lighting systems that provide essential visual guidance for pilots are being test run for the first time on the newly rehabilitated runway of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Anyimiro, monitoring the update, reports that power installation checks are ongoing to confirm that every light signal is working.
So far, after the completion of laying of asphalt on over 2.4 kilometers of the 3.6 runway, airfield lighting installations are at different stages, covering over 1.2 kilometers of the entire runway. Starting from the threshold lighting, center line, and the touchdown lighting, all controlled by different circuits. Anywhere the surface laying of asphalt is completed, lighting installation is taking place concurrently.
We are just testing these lights to make sure that they are powered and the fittings are okay, and we do a final finishes on them by screwing them into position. Touchdown zone lightings have been installed and completed, and they are being tested. It will be much more clearer and much more beautiful in the night.
The airport was active. All the lightings were active before the runway was finally closed. So it's just a matter of putting back everything.
It is also gathered that less than 1 kilometer of the asphalt laying is left, which will be completed in a few days. Meanwhile, with the testing of the runway lightings, what is expected thereafter is the markings of the runway. Emmanuel Anyimiro, NTA News.
The unprecedented increase in the temperature from below 20 degrees Celsius to over 40 degrees Celsius, which is closely related to the outbreak of meningitis, may continue till May this year. Director General of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, Professor Sani Abubakar, stated this in an exclusive interview with Mia Ogidi in Abuja.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, during its 2017 seasonal rainfall prediction, alerted Nigerians of a long period of dry season, especially in the northern part of the country, with attendant agricultural and health challenges. In less than a month, Nigeria is experiencing an outbreak of meningitis, which is associated with eye inflammation. For the Director General of the agency, avoiding crowded areas and staying away from excessive heat can prevent one from contacting the disease.
The average temperature here in the tropics is always about 20 to 25 average. So, but when you have temperature readings that are now doubling that, approaching 40 and above, then there's every reason for concern. Warning people that there are certain things they need to avoid, especially in the night, sleeping in congested places and places that are hot in the night. And as a result of this now, you find out that cases of meningitis have now become so serious now.
He, however, advised that Nigerians should take proactive measures anytime the seasonal rainfall prediction is released, instead of reacting to situations. Mia Ogidi, NTA News.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyama, has promised to explore partnership with Estonia on digital cross-border security management. The minister said this when he received the Under-Secretary Foreign and Trade Affairs of Estonia, Mr. Vaino Reinhardt, in Abuja.
For the EU, when there will also be a new leadership in ECOWAS, so that will be a good program to start with. I think the digital solutions.
And knowing the leading role what Nigeria is playing here in this part of the world, so I believe we do have a very good opportunity of working together and promoting the ICT developments.
The three-man delegation promised to engage relevant agencies for a robust ICT collaboration in cross-border security management in Nigeria. This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Do stay tuned. We will be right back after the break.
The road all the manner, how we had the night. This roundabout, how it used to be before, it's not the way it's looking now.
This is a rescue mission project. Invest in EMO. The EMO Rescue Mission. EMO must be better.
Great to have you back on the news on NTA International. Now, moving forward, the Food and Agriculture Organization is to launch $20 million support program for 2017 wet season farming in northeast Nigeria. This is coming as over 170,000 dry season farmers are receiving imports, irrigation equipment, and livestock support in the region. Musa Babaliu tells us more.
55-years-old Bunyaminu Yamani is one of the thousands of farmers who were displaced by activities of insurgents in Jere local government area of Borno State. He says for the past 3 years, farming activities were crippled in the area, turning producers of food items to beggars.
Most of them have left this place. The last 2 years, you cannot see anybody here. Last 2 or 3 years, you cannot see anybody here. There is nothing precisely here.
Violence is now over. Peace has returned. And for the displaced farming communities to be able to go back to their agricultural activities, they will need farming equipment such as irrigation facilities, inputs, and chemicals. In response to these needs, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, is supporting over 170,000 farmers with input and irrigation facilities during the ongoing dry season farming activities.
The rainy season, we reached some 146,000 people for the rainy season, and for the dry season 2016-2017, we have reached some 174,000 people.
The beneficiaries of the support say they were able to produce substantial amount of food that will take care of their needs. One major concern is mines and explosives that may be buried on farmlands. And the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations says it is collaborating with all relevant security agencies to ensure that all farming communities are free from explosives. From Maiduguri, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Let's now join Muplang Dakok for reports from the financial sector.
Thank you for joining me on Business News. Stress tests conducted by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, shows that the capital adequacy ratios of 3 big banks have fallen below regulatory capital requirement. The test conducted in the Financial Stability Report released by the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele classified lenders into 3 groups: large banks which have assets greater or equal to 1 trillion naira, medium banks with assets greater or equal to 500 billion naira, and small banks having assets of less than 500 billion naira. And on oil matters, China is set to import record amounts of crude oil from West Africa this month as the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, cuts supply. West African producers led by Nigeria and Angola are poised to send crude to China at the rate of 1.48 million barrels a day this April, the highest since 2011. In all, Asian imports of West African crude oil are poised to reach 2.4 million barrels a day this month. Time now for a look at closing figures of trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange Thursday. And that concludes business news at this time. Thanks for watching. I am Moplang Dakok.
Thank you, Moplang. Over now to Justin Bemui for stories from the foreign scene.
Voters in the Gambia are casting their ballots in the first election since the departure of longtime leader Yahya Jammeh, with multiple parties poised to enter parliament after 22 years of effective one-party rule. Expectations are high that under the new president, Adama Barrow, Parliament will play a key part in lawmaking. A full set of results are expected on Friday morning. From North Africa comes a report that Libyan authorities have released 28 Eritreans and 7 Nigerians, including 2 women and children, who were captured and enslaved by Islamic State and had been held in detention since the jihadist group lost the city in December. Some of the women were on their way to Europe when Islamic State fighters kidnapped and held them as sex slaves. Meanwhile, South Africa's former Deputy Finance Minister, Macabisi Jonas, has resigned as a Member of Parliament after his sack by President Jacob Zuma last week. His resignation, announced by the African National Congress, follows that of sacked Transport Minister Depo Peters, who also lost her job after a much-criticized cabinet reshuffle. Away from Africa now, reports have it that the head of a key U.S. congressional investigation into alleged Russian hacking has temporarily stepped down amid an ethics inquiry into him. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes is now himself under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. The panel is looking into claims that the Republican disclosed classified intelligence. Mr. Nunes called the charges entirely false and politically motivated. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
We'll take another break at this time. The news returns shortly.
This is Army Worm. It is a destroyer. Operates at night. It devastates maize and other cereal crops, causing 70 to 100% damage, amounting to losses in billions of naira annually. Army worm causes huge reduction in yield, high cost of production, poor income to farmers, collapse of industries that use cereals products, and attendant loss of jobs. The economic impact is huge. Farmers, outgrowers, stakeholders in the agricultural value chain, and the general public are hereby advised to immediately report any suspected case of army worm in maize and cereals to Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service on. This message is
good to have you back on the news. And up next, sports. Nigeria Super Eagles move upward in the latest FIFA rankings as international sports organization commemorate